Gosh, today I would like to talk to you about breaking free from the unnamed cage, like naming your limitations. I've always said that 50% of every problem is actually solved when you become aware of what's going on. So when, those aha moments where like, oh my God, that's what's happening there, and it took me 20 years to get there. Oh my gosh, that's what's happening here. And it took me 5 years to get this. Oh, that's what's happening with money. Oh, that's what you were hearing in relationship. And all of a sudden you have these aha moments. Those are the glimmers, right? Where you're like, all right, I got it. We can move forward now. But the cage is the opposite of that. What the cage does, the cage of abuse that is it keeps us trapped in our limitations and justifies our limitations. And it justifies our limitations so that we don't exist. That's the really crazy making thing about the cage of abuse. Because once you define and speak what has held you back and discover the power of naming it and releasing it, you'll never know true freedom. And true freedom is living radically alive out of your cage of abuse, because in the cage of abuse, you don't exist. Period. Your needs don't matter. Your dreams don't matter. iMessages don't matter. What you feel doesn't matter. You're just kind of like, well, let's do what you want to do. Let's have what you want to have. Shirking responsibility, procrastinating, saying it's too late for this, it's too late for that. We don't have enough money to do this. We don't have enough money to do that. All of those are limitations. While money is a great example, like the numbers don't lie, but even if you don't have the money to do what you want to do, what's stopping you from doing it? The fact that you don't have the money, or the fact that you believe that not having the money should stop you from doing something? That's what I'm getting into with people as we name the limitations and name the cage of abuse in your life. I've been doing this for close to 30 years now. And somewhere over the last decade, all the tools that I have gathered in my career, personally, professionally, indigenously, creatively, energetically, psychologically, etc., I put together this method called the ROAR method. And in that method, it really helped people identify the cage of abuse, identify their own limitations, and where they weren't actually living radically alive. They were actually defeating themselves, sabotaging themselves by denying, defending, dissociating, and disconnecting to their very existence. Now, how does one do that? Well, there's so many ways. 3 big ways are in relationships and the dynamics we set up, our relationship with money and the dynamics we set up, and in our health, with our bodies and with our being, and even our spirit. And that could be diseases or diseases, chronic pains, depressions, anxieties, runs the gamut, right? So in creating the ROAR method, well, actually why I created the ROAR method, it's not so much a why, it's more like I found this so useful for myself. I've done so much, I've worked with amazing therapeutic people all over the world, from different countries, ethnics, cultures, religions, spiritual, indigenous, and all of those things help. But what really helped me realize that I wasn't even living my life, I was living like a hologram of myself, was when I discovered my own cage of abuse. And I was just on a session, so I can give you a little bit of an example. So I literally draw this in my last session. And essentially, that's the cage: denying, defending, dissociating, and disconnecting. In the center is you. And there's an X there, because if you're in the center of a cage, while your being may exist in physical form, you have mutilated yourself out of yourself. So what you actually form in this cage is not the you. We can call it the anti-you. outside of the cage is the real you. But in here, denying, defending, dissociating, disconnecting is the limitation you, is the unworthy you, is the unlovable you, is the mistake you, the bad you, maybe even evil, unworthy, embarrassed, ashamed, powerless, a victim, a perpetrator, who knows? Whatever you've judged yourself to be, which judged you out of existence to be who you were inherently, supposedly inherently and intrinsically designed to be. So even though you might be in your cage of abuse, know this: if you allow yourself to be walked through this cage and figure out how you're not being you and where you left yourself and what you decided in the leaving of yourself, which allowed you to create this persona of yourself that isn't actually really you, you will begin to experience a freedom of being that is light and expansive and beautiful, frankly, because it's you. And then you will start seeing the truth about yourself. So, for example, I just worked with somebody. I didn't know the situation happened, and she had some coworkers make fun of her at work. Pretty innocuous stuff. But then it got to the point where the coworkers were saying things like, "Boy, you sure have done a lot for the age of 21. And I say that with that voice purposely, because you can tell when there's an energy that someone's saying that's authentic, and when there's an energy that someone says that's a little judgmental. It was a little judgmental in the energy. And the person that I was working with got really, really hurt. And of course, the hurt always shows up as anger, denial, denying. And then the anger, you start defending and saying things to the people. My client got in a little conflict with these people, defending her right to exist and not be made fun of, which is everybody's right. But they were really taking certain aspects of herself and making her feel, not making her feel, but she felt disbelieved, that nobody would trust her, and that she'd always be alone. And that's what their laughter made her feel. That's how you start to get in the cage. Somebody's laughter from a present situation about you, and they're saying things, have these jabs at you that make you feel less than worthy, embarrassed, ashamed, anger, frustrated, annoyed, doubting yourself, denial, defending. And then you disconnect from the people, and the people disconnect from you because you're hurt. Because it's all in the present. And then you dissociate from them from you, and you from yourself. Now you're in the cage, because once you dissociate from yourself, you don't exist. But what starts to come up then is all the, how do I say this, all the stuff like the computer program keeping us connected right now, right? All the stuff in the computer program in the back of your mind that you don't even know that you decided, all the stuff in your subconscious but locked in your body, in your mind about yourself, all the mean, terrible, awful, really horrible things about yourself. I'm this, I'm that, I'm not this, I'm not that, no one will ever love me, no one will ever be with me, I never should have been born, all those sorts of things. And then we started tracking it back. When was the first time, most recent time backwards that you felt it other than the day at work? She went to high school and talked about a similar situation. Got another cage. So she learned in high school to not exist as herself. Then we went back to primary school. She learned in primary school to not exist as herself. Then we went back even to conception and a child age, where she was told she was too loud, she was too this, she was too that. And it led to three things. She would never be believed. People would always hurt her in relationship and would always end up in conflict, and therefore she was alone. So what she created in her own cage of abuse is that she'll always be alone, and that all her relationships will be a conflict, and that she'll never be believed, which then meant that you could never have a relationship, even friendships. So now that we've highlighted the issue, then I get in there and zippy zap the energy to change the conclusions and decisions and judgments and belief systems that she made about herself that are outdated and incorrect. They're a lie, basically, because she created a persona of herself based on the experiences in her childhood, but it got triggered by a present experience, and then it comes up in session so we can clear it in childhood. Still following me? I know. Whoever said consciousness was linear and that you should understand everything or getting conscious or getting aware. All we're trying to do here, all I'm trying to do here, is get you aware that there could be a cage that is on top of you that you're living with that got created in your childhood, and any present situation today, tomorrow, next month that triggers you, anger, rage, fury, hate, shame, blame, guilt, depression, anxiety, in the present probably indicates a cage in the past that is waiting for you to say, let's lean in and change this and live radically alive. So if you find this useful, like it, click the bell to get notified when another video drops. Share something with me about how maybe what you saw as your own pattern in relationships or health and money or anything about this particular cage of abuse, and naming your limitations. I would really love to have the possibility of hearing your limitations and pivoting with you, even in the comment section of YouTube. Something else to know about yourself than what you've already decided you think you are. That is the Roar Method solution. And if nobody's told you that they love you today and that there's a different way, I just did. There's a different way, and I love you. Bye for now.